Are you looking for affordable land, perhaps a spot to camp on weekends, a place to pass down to your kids, or even land that generates cash flow? Today, I'm going to show you an affordable Texas property that's for sale with owner financing. And I'm also going to walk you through 10 simple questions that can tell you whether a property will work for you. And finally, share a story about someone who turned bare dirt into $30K a month in income. So here's what we're covering today. A quick property update, so what's sold, what's on hold, today's land deal in El Paso County, Texas, a 10-question checklist that will help you think about how to make money from your land, and inside of that, I'll show you the 30K dirt case study, and then we'll wrap up with a fun fact and a free gift. But before we dive in, my name is Erica. I have a company that buys and sells land. Our website is gokchecapital.com. You can find all of our available properties here by clicking Buy Land at the top. And I have sold over 650 properties. Now, all of our properties, we do sell properties across the US. They can all be found on this map. And recently, we've seen a lot of activity in North Carolina, West Virginia, and New Mexico. And that's where we've been acquiring properties because we've seen so much interest there. Now, I will note that all of our properties move quickly. So if you're interested in a property and you wait until next week's live stream, one of next week's live streams, you might just be hearing me talking about someone else's success or the update that your property's been sold. Okay. So very quickly, you can find all of our listings on a table as well, which gives you a little information on each property along with its status. We do, and I'll note that all of the properties that say available and that don't say listed with a realtor are for sale by owner. That means you can hold the property while you do your research, or you can purchase it with owner financing. So let's look at today's deal. Now, today's deal is out in El Paso, Texas. This is about half an acre, 0.56 acres, and it has commercial zoning, which is interesting. Now, I'll zoom out here so you can see this property is just outside of El Paso. And it is in an area that's still fairly rural. And so, to be real, this property isn't for everyone. It's rural, dirt road access, no utilities. So if you're looking for a Starbucks on the corner, this is probably not your land. But if you want wide open skies and a chance to own commercial land near one of Texas's fastest growing areas at a reasonable price, this could be a smart buy. So who would this be for? Someone looking for a legacy asset to pass on, anyone who just wants a desert getaway, or someone with a creative idea about how to use a commercially zoned property. And we'll get to how you can think about that in a minute. But just quickly, the price here is very affordable. We're under $15,000 plus the dock fee. And as with all of the properties that we're selling for sale by owner, we do offer owner financing. That comes with our 365-day exchange guarantee, and we will tailor the terms to make sure they are affordable for you. I'll also note that we do not have a credit score requirement. And you can also hold the property while you do your due diligence by clicking buy or hold on the main listing page. And for anyone who's watching the live stream, we do have a little gift. We have a special discount code on our Texas properties. That's for $200 off a Texas property, including this one. That code is LiveTX200, and I will put that in the chat. That's valid until midnight. Okay, so let's talk about 10 questions you can ask yourself to think about what you can do with the property that you're purchasing. And I'll be using this property as an example as we go through this checklist, but it is just for demonstration. It is not to verify that this property can be used for any one purpose. And now, when you're thinking about how to make money with vacant land, the first question you need to ask about is zoning, because zoning determines what you can build on the land and what you can use the land for. Wrong zoning means it is the wrong purchase for you. The easiest way to do this, just call the county, the Planning and Development Department, and ask them whether what you're thinking of doing would be allowed. But if you're a little bit of a bookworm or a nerd like me, you can actually search their zoning code online. And if this loads, there's often, yes, I did mention that I'm going to cover a case study on how someone is making $30K per month from vacant land. So here you can often find a table like this, which goes over all the allowable uses in a particular zoning area. There is also one other item that can kill your plans, and those would be things like covenants, deed restrictions, or other county rules that dictate what can and can be done on a property. So this particular lot does not have any of those, but there are many properties that come with them. Is that someone you? Is that someone you? Maybe. All right. Now, another thing that can kill a particular use of a property is not being able to get there. So can you actually access a property, which is a big issue in rural areas? So that you can check by just going to Google Maps. It's also a good idea to visit the property yourself if you're able to. Oh, is someone making $40K per month? I see. Well, this case study is not about me. No, I could use our business as a case study because I suppose we would qualify under that title as well. But I'll be talking about someone else in a second. No, I'll be covering someone else, but I can do my own case study in a future live stream. All right. Now, there is something else that's important aside from just access, and those would be utilities, depending on your use. Not every use requires utilities. You can even build a home without public utilities available, but it's a good idea to check what is available for connection in the area. And you can do that again by calling the county or Googling, power company in the county and calling them and seeing whether you can connect your property to their services. Okay. All right, so let us say, going back to yesterday's live stream, one way you can make money from vacant land is RV storage. So if that was what you were thinking of doing, you'd want to check demand. And you can do that by going to simple sites like Facebook Marketplace and just searching RV storage, El Paso, to see if other people are doing it. Because generally if someone else is doing it, it means there's some demand. And you can see that there are people on Facebook Marketplace here who are offering RV storage in El Paso. You can also call a local realtor who handles land. You can find them on sites like Zillow or LandWatch if you just search El Paso. And ask them what's moving fastest here. What kind of land are people looking for? And what kind of uses do you see people using land for? Right. Another question would be, can you afford to fence the land and how much will it cost? Here's, it loads. Home Depot actually has a little calculator that gives you a price range. These are for residential fences. So use like RV storage or truck storage would require more industrial scale fence, but you can see what some of these costs are. And And also, do you have the budget to add? And that's actually a really good point. Another way to judge demand would be putting your own ad out. So doing a basic test, putting your own ad out on Craigslist, saying I'm offering RV storage or truck storage, and seeing if you get a response. So try to pre-fill out demand before you get your property. It's a very smart move. And you'd also want to look into whether you have the budget for other low-cost improvements. So again, something like RV or truck storage, you'll want to put down some basic amenities like a gravel pad, again, as I mentioned, a fence and security cameras. So look into the costs of those and whether you can budget for it. And then on the opposite, then you also have to look at your other costs of ownership. So what are going to be the total cost of ownership, ongoing, not just capital improvements, so taxes, HOA dues, road maintenance, even small fees, everything you want to, if you're buying land primarily to make money from it, you want to add in every expense. And the good news is that a lot of vacant land comes with fairly low carrying costs, like this particular property, annual taxes are only $1, so it's basically nothing, and it has no HOA. But those are some things you'd want to think about, especially if you're getting a bigger property. And you might also want to consider what's going on in the surrounding area, whether there is potential for growth or zoning changes in the next, say, 10 years. This is a harder thing to judge, so I wouldn't put too much faith in this because you're trying to guess the future, but it is a good idea to be outside of a growing area, like a major city. And then finally, you want to think about just personally, what are your primary aims with the land? So if your primary goal is to make money, are you looking for long-term cash flow? Are you ultimately looking for a quicker flip, like you want to only hold it for a few years and then sell it again? Or are you looking to hold on to it for the long term and pass it on to your children? The other thing you want to consider is a lot of people who are buying rural land, actually, making money might be a nice side hustle, but it's not your primary purpose. With rural land, it might be more recreational, like you want to camp out somewhere where you're not bothered by city lights or lots of other campers. You might want hunting land or somewhere close to great fishing. And in those circumstances, developing a lot, even a little bit to make money from it might impede the recreational value of the land. So that's something to consider as well. But let me show you how this plays out in the real world. I did say we would cover a case study.
Industrial outdoor storage is one.
Here is one person who's making $30K a month from a parking lot, and they are doing truck storage, which is very similar to what we covered yesterday, RV storage. This is someone in Dallas-Fort Worth, so also in Texas. He got a slightly larger property, a larger property at 5 acres. This was an industrial zoned lot, and at first it was just dirt with a rundown office. And instead of redeveloping it, he just fenced it, added gravel lighting and a secure gate, and ultimately could fit between 150 to 200 semi-trucks here, and is charging $200 per month each. So that's between $30 to $45K per month in rent for this property. So this is one example of something you can do with vacant land. This is a little bit larger than the El Paso lot I was showing, but it's still not a super large property. So you can see you can do something like RV or truck storage on a fairly small parcel of land. And if you can get a commercial or industrially zoned lot at a relatively good price, that would, and yes, the zoning does allow it here because this is an industrial zoned lot. So that's why it is important to check the zoning, because you want a property that is zoned correctly. Now this property is in Dallas. It's not a rural lot, so he paid a lot more for this property than the sample lot that I was showing. He paid About 2.5 million is what it said in this video, but he did get financing, so he put up about, according to the video, $1 million in his own cash. But even with that kind of investment, he's, again, according to the video, making about 8 to 9% cash-on-cash return each year from renting this out for trucks. So this is, a larger scale example in a much more expensive area, but it is gross. 30 per month is gross. But so this is an example of something, it can be done on a smaller scale in a more rural area. You just need to check demand, right? Okay. So I do want to leave with a fun fact of the day. And one question that I had was, how much of U.S. land do you think is actually developed? 2 point, better pay off the principal quick, yeah. Well, with a lot of real estate ventures, people do take on. What kind of permits do you need? That's going to vary from county to county. And it also depends on how much you're going to develop out a storage facility. If you're just putting, but most counties will require some kind of permit. That's why it's, important to call the county and go over their process. They'll have that on their website, but you can give them a quick call. Is the 5% a guess of how much land is developed? Because that was going to be the fun fact. How much of U.S. land do you think is developed? And if the 5% was a guess at that, you are actually right. It's about 6% of U.S. land is developed. No, he doesn't live on the property. Again, this is industrially zoned land. So he's using it as a business venture. All right, so if 6% of U.S. land is developed, that means 94% is still relatively open. That's forests, deserts, farmlands. And that does mean that there is a lot of opportunity out there, but also a lot of beautiful land if you want recreational properties as well. No office on the property. I actually didn't look into that. Does farmland count as developed? No, it doesn't. So, maybe that's a little sneaky depending on what you consider developed or not. Who does the check-in and check-out? These are all good questions. I did not look into that, but I can look in further. I think he might actually have an office on this property because it came with an old office building. But in general, that is a good question. Who would do the check-in and check-out for truck storage? So I bet that there are virtual services you can use. Yeah, so the most common way would be an automated gate system. So each tenant gets a unique access code, something like that. And that's a, fairly inexpensive way to have 24/7 access with minimal staffing. But you do need to spend a little more for the automated gate. You can also have a site manager on site, up to you whether that's 24/7 or not. And let's see, was there a lack of parking lots in that area? It didn't mention, but my understanding is that in general, there's a lack of truck parking because as you can imagine, there are very few places that are equipped to handle trucks. And trucks are not going to be allowed in most areas anyway, even if you could find a driveway large enough. He probably had to do a feasibility study too. I would guess I didn't see that mentioned, but maybe not if he wasn't actually doing heavy development. That's another good follow-up question I can ask. And Would you need to do a feasibility study for truck parking? Yes, in most cases, you should do a feasibility study because it's not just about whether you have land, it's about whether the land plus location plus economics actually support the use. So a feasibility study here, we're talking about the economic feasibility of it, but also like site capacity, revenue returns. I don't know if you're thinking about like environmental study. I assume you meant more like the economic feasibility study. The bank may very well ask for something like this too. Where did he get? Can we have him on the live stream? I can reach out. We'll see. Do I have enough star power? I don't know. But yeah, key cards gate system, that would seems like the easiest way to go for something like this. You can also do a hybrid model where you primarily rely on an automated gate, but then you do random checks, so you have someone there a few days a week just to make sure everything is running smoothly. And if you make this a business where you have multiple lots in the same area, you could use a third-party company or operator who just handles all your lots for you. Yeah, so I was thinking of the feasibility of the business. So yeah, it probably would be a good idea to do a feasibility study just to make sure that the demand is there and the economics work out. And if you're taking out a loan, it may very well be that the bank requires something like that too. I don't know, maybe they would help you with something like that. But that about wraps it up. Oh, Zaphael, I didn't say thank you for joining again. It's so great to see you at all these live streams. Anything else I missed with the case study truck parking? If not, I'll wrap up and share our free gift. Can any of our properties be used for parking? Well, that's why I was highlighting the El Paso County lot, because it's half an acre, so this would be a much smaller property than the case study. Although theoretically, because this is commercially zoned, that might be something you could consider, a smaller scale parking. Maybe not trucks, but maybe RVs. It does actually look like there's someone who's doing an adjacent kind of business, haul yard in the area. So this would be one property, because it's zone commercial, that might be a possibility. I don't want to make any guarantees on any of this. That's the main one I was thinking, because a lot of our other lots are more residential lots, so these would be more recreational home building lots. And Zaphael, I hope the live streams are increasing channel activity and visibility. We'll see. I mean, I do appreciate that you're here. And it's also just fun to, even if they don't, it's also fun to just chat about land. Title says you were going to show the 50 press. Yeah. So we can look at all the properties quickly. I did show them quickly at the beginning, but maybe it was too fast. So we do have a lot of properties. I did say in the title that right now we have 50 properties. We recently sold one since I drafted the title yesterday. We do have a Colorado lot. Now, this is another lot that's a little more rural. It's larger, so 5 acres. The case study was 5 acres, so theoretically would be large enough for something like a full truck parking. The question would be whether zoning would allow it. In my research, I don't actually look at storage, because most of our buyers are looking for recreational or residential land. It is zoned residential, so it's possible that storage would not be allowed, but we can call the county and ask. It wouldn't take very long. And in terms of our other lots, we do have some properties. Did the lot you sell know about your YouTube videos? Well, a lot of people who come asking about properties do mention the YouTube videos. So they do seem to be appreciated. Not everyone has seen them. I don't know if the Hampshire County property came through YouTube or not. I don't know if my team remembers off the top of their head. But I do know that many people mention the YouTube videos. I know someone is a cat owner. Are you a cat owner? Yeah. We have a cat-friendly team here at Gokce Capital. I'll just note, many of us own cats. We've joked that it would be a requisite to work here. So yes, there was a question about what properties we have available. We do have a couple properties in New Mexico, one in Oregon, a lot in North Carolina, a lot in Florida, and 2 in upstate New York. And we will likely be getting more properties in both Colorado and Nevada in the upcoming weeks and months. So keep a lookout for those if you're interested in the West. You can find all of our properties at land.gocap.com. That link is here, land.gocap.com. That link's also in the description and the pinned comments. And we have a free gift, our guide, 17 Simple Ways to Generate Income from Land. That link is also going to be in the description and the pinned comments. And not fond of cats. Aw, well, dogs are welcome too. They are awesome, of course. I think all pets are wonderful. Even turtles and birds, right? So and that wraps it up. Again, all of our properties are at land.gocap.com. Happy to answer any other questions or chat for a little bit longer. What are we covering in the next video? Well, I was going to keep going with ways to make money from land, but I didn't want to give it away. Although if there are any suggestions, I'm happy to cover those topics. If not, I will continue with the series on ways to make money from vacant land, and we'll find out what the next way is tomorrow. I'll try to find another case study to make it interesting. How about that? But Zafael, thank you for joining. I hope to see you in future live streams. I'll be here tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and all the other times in between. And I appreciate you all. I'll talk to you soon.